Before we get started, we have Pastor Dan Barnes from the Eastgate Baptist Church to present a prayer for us, and we appreciate that very much. And then we'll officially start our meeting with a pledge. If you come to the podium, that'd be great.
If you don't mind if I get a picture, because this is important to me.
Okay. Okay.
Let's have a word of prayer. Father, these good people have gathered today to meet, to make their community and state and city better. I pray that you'd give them strength. I pray that you'd give them wisdom. I pray that you'd protect them as they do this. And Lord, I pray that their reach would be strong. I pray that they'd make our society better. And thank you for the opportunity to serve. Now, Lord, again, I pray that your presence would be very felt here. And thank you again for loving us. In your precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to take things a little bit out of order. Pam Havercost is with us today. She's our EMA director, and we have a possibility of flooding, so we need to hear what are the predictions? What are we doing?
Hi, my name is Pam Havercost. I'm the Clermont County Emergency Management Agency Director. Thank you for having me. I wish I had more detailed information for you at the moment, but as of what we know today, and as of 10 a.m. this morning, we know rain is forecast for Friday and into Saturday, and at times that could be very heavy, and we could potentially see 1 to 2 inches of rain during the course of that storm system. Currently, there are river forecast models out there that say that we'll stay below flood stage at both the Meldal Dam gauge as well as the Cincinnati gauge, but those forecast models do not take into account the rain that's forecast for Friday into Saturday. So right now their forecasting takes into account 48 hours, and that looks at the rainfall totals and the snow melts, but it just doesn't take into account what those what that storm coming on Friday into Saturday will look like for us. So we could potentially see the Ohio River go above flood stage again. It's very likely that that will happen because even now with the current forecast, we would be at 51.6 feet at the Cincinnati gauge, and we'd be at 49.6 feet, which is still a little bit below.
52?
At the Cincinnati gauge, it's at 52. At the Meldal gauge, it's 51 feet. So we're really close to that flood stage already, and if we get another 1 to 2 inches, and that storm system is pretty massive. It's going to go all the way up into the East Coast, so it's going to hit West Virginia, and all of those feed back into the Ohio River. So we have been meeting with all of our response partners along the Ohio River to make sure that we're prepared. If it goes above flood stage, most of the initial impacts is roadway impacts, so accessibility issues become the problem. But the public works agencies, so the engineer's office, the Ohio Department of Transportation, and all the road departments have already started actually last week, and they pre-staged high water signs and road closure signs where they know they traditionally have road impacts. So all of that's kind of taken care of, and then we're working with all the public safety agencies to make sure that we're prepared should we have to start doing any type of sheltering or moving people out of communities. Our first home would be impacted at 56.9 feet, which is in the village of New Richmond. So we're in constant communication with all the municipalities to make sure that we can handle those issues.
And the last event that happened, which was just last week, was at 53?
Just below 53. I think it measured at 52.99 feet at the Cincinnati gauge. If these are correct, it looks like...
a couple of road closures. I saw pictures of...
Yeah, so the engineer's office sent me over. So Neville Spur is impacted right now. And Neville Spur becomes impacted at 49 feet. Old State Route 52 at 9 Mile Creek becomes impacted at 50 feet. And then you start getting into additional impacts along the Old State Route 52. And so the engineer's office actually knows which roadways become impacted at which high water mark. And then, a lot of the other fire departments have gone out and kind of done assessments last weekend to see what roadways were being impacted.
How are we doing on some of the backwaters? Because that's where a lot of the problem is first.
Well, and that's the problem. I mean, the fact that the Ohio River did not recede the way it was expected, so we're still going to see that backwater flooding. And so again, that's where it starts getting into these roadway impacts on these backwater areas. I know some of the local fire departments have started reaching out to those individuals and families that would have lose access to their driveways or to their houses, but their houses wouldn't be impacted. So they've started to do some preparedness communication with those residents to make sure that they know where they can park their car and that they're going to lose access to driving to their house. So,
Particularly people that are new, that have
Yes.
moved into houses that they haven't been in before. I mean, this is not this happens fairly regularly. But, so those that have been there for a while kind of know what's going on, but people that are new to the area and may have either purchased a home or renting a home may not know that. Yeah. Well, very good, thank you.
all right.
We know you're busy right now.
Yeah, the one thing I would remind people is don't drive through flooded areas. Don't drive around high water signs. Just be cognizant that there may be areas that do not traditionally flood that, now they have water on the roadways, and don't drive through that area. Find an alternate route. And then also as the weather warms up and kids are outside playing, please make sure they're not playing in these streams and creeks because it's dangerous. It's still going to be very cold and it's going to be swift moving water. So we just want to make sure everyone's protected.
Yes.
A lot of kids like to go into those big drainage pipes.
Yes, very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yes.
Again, thank you for the opportunity, and
Okay, thank you
we'll
for
keep
being
you
with us.
informed.
All right.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
Next, we have a certificate of recognition. Commissioners, if you'd join me at the podium. And Sydney Snyder, if you'd come forward. Hi, Sydney.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
We saw you received an award last night.
Yeah, I wasn't able to attend.
I know,
but,
but your sister
my
stood in
sister
very
stood in
well.
for me,
She
yeah.
also has blonde hair.
Yeah,
It
looks
yeah,
close enough.
Yeah. So this is a certificate of recognition for Sydney Snyder on being named the president of the Ohio FFA, formerly Future Farmers of America, and for spreading the goodness about many benefits of agriculture throughout the state of Ohio. We commend you as the Board of County Commissioners, signed Ed Humphrey, Bob Proud, and David Ubel. Thank you.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to talk to us a little bit about what your adventure is and what
Sure.
you're doing?
Yeah, sure.
There we go.
You do a lot of this, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah, and talk to people. Yeah,
Sydney actually took a year off from college to be able to do this, and
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so I was elected last May, so my term is actually ending in about 7 weeks, unfortunately. But I took the year off college, so I'll go back this summer as a sophomore status. And I've just really traveled anywhere from Clermont County to Ashtabula County, all over the state, to talk to FFA chapters and to talk to other groups about agriculture. Last night, like they said, I was awarded the youth leader from Clermont County, but I wasn't able to attend because I was actually in Kentucky talking to different youth about the importance of agriculture in their daily lives. So it's definitely been a blessing to get to travel all over Ohio and meet so many cool people, and I'm honored to be able to come back to Clermont County and be recognized. So thank you all.
Well, thank you. We're honored to have you from Clermont
Well,
County.
if we can step in front of the, we'll get a picture, maybe?
Get our pastor. You want your picture taken? I would love this.
Yeah.
I'll let her have that.
All right, 1, 2, 3, one more. Got it. 1, 2, 3. And we'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Everybody smile. There you go. Come on, guys.
All right.
I didn't want to see a hurt thunder. Everybody smile. Thank you. Well, back up here. Mark, all right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
should call you Madam President. Thank you so much for being such a good example and role model.
Thank you.
Madam President. Mail server on the right host, right?
Yeah.
Next, we have Gary Knepp with us, who will give us an update about the legal history of Clermont County. Gary was commissioned by the Clermont County Bar Association to look into the legal history, so if you'd...
Thank you for having me. I appreciate coming.
Thanks for being here.
Definitely there was a rose up there between the thorns. But
There you go. You betcha.
last,
We don't argue that fact.
no, I know. Last September, I was commissioned by the Clermont County Bar Association to write a legal history of the county. And it's designed to appeal to the average public member so that they can learn a little bit more about that interesting aspect, important aspect of our history, and not focus in on the dry legal issues. It's going to cover basically what you would expect in legal history, such things as courts and courthouses, notable cases, including an Ohio Supreme Court case that started in New Richmond about slavery, an Ohio Supreme Court case. Famous attorneys such as Frank Davis of Batavia, who was an assistant U.S. Attorney General during the Wilson administration and was the federal government's point man at the Supreme Court. Judges such as Hugh Nichols, also of Batavia, which actually they lived on opposite corners. He was the first Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. So, and then there'll be things that maybe not usually associate with this topic, such as guardianships of one young child who later became a Medal of Honor recipient from New Richmond. Habeas corpus hearings during the Civil War, 19th century coroner inquests, and an estate inventory from 1810, which will give us a fascinating glimpse into the material culture of that period to understand what people's possessions were and things of that sort.
It's a coronary inquest, is that what you said?
Yes. That is basically an attempt to determine what the cause of death is.
Okay.
And during this one that I looked at, because there was not a coroner, this was 1860, because there wasn't a coroner present, they could not have a formal inquest. So the Justice of the Peace then called together 6 people of the community, 6 electors of the community, and they went to view the body and make the determination of the cause of death. So it's kind of a different approach than what we have today. And I wanted to tell one story in particular that gives you kind of a flavor of what maybe you can expect from this history. And this is involving John Clark and Judge Philip Gatch of Milford. When the county was formed back in December of 1800, Bob, now you remember that.
Yes, absolutely.
He was a commissioner.
Very well.
Commissioner.
Very well.
It was formed on the auspices of the Northwest Territory, and there were several requirements for each county, one of which was that you had to have a courthouse and in the county seat, which at that time was Williamsburg. The courthouse we actually leased as a public house from Thomas Morris, a pub. Was a bar, basically, was where the court was held. Thomas Morris later became the first Clermont County to be admitted to the practice of law, and later a United States senator. You also had to have a jail, and they gave very clear descriptions of the jail. It had to have 2 apartments, as they called them, one for the criminal and one for the civil cases, which were basically debtors, because there was a debtors prison at that time. And it talked about that we have to have stout timber and iron grates and bars and locks. So we had to make sure we had that. And the third requirement, which might seem a little strange today, was a public whipping post, which would be reserved for only the most heinous of criminals. But there was actually a whipping post right there in the county square. And that's where we come in with John Clark. John Clark was charged with horse stealing, which in those days was one of the most heinous crimes. And it was certainly one of those crimes for which they would have a public whipping. He appeared before Reverend Philip Gatch. Gatch was known as an associate judge in those days. He was appointed by the legislature. He was not an attorney. And a little bit of background about Gatch will explain probably why he was appointed. He was born in Baltimore in 1751, and he was the 3rd American-born person to become a Methodist minister in the United States. And during the Revolutionary War, Methodists were considered to be suspect because John Wesley, who was the founder of the denomination, was from England. So anybody who was a Methodist was considered to have disloyal sentiments, or at least suspicious of it. And one farmer who didn't like Gatch, I think primarily because Gatch had converted his wife, decided to set upon him and to tar and feather Gatch, which we sometimes think is kind of a funny little thing to happen, but it's very serious. And when they were lying on the hot tar, it brushed Gatch's eye and blinded him for the rest of his life. Because of that, he later moved to Virginia and married there, and inherited through his wife several slaves. Gatch freed his slaves, became an abolitionist, and then later moved to Clermont County because Clermont County, under the old guise of the Northwest Territory, did not permit slavery. So he came here specifically for that reason. And because he opposed slavery, he was later chosen as one of 2 of our constitutional delegates to form the state of Ohio. Gatch's farm was at where Green Lawn Cemetery is today in Milford. So Judge Gatch had John Clark appeared before him. He was accused as a repeat offender, and Judge Gatch sentenced John Clark to 25 lashes at the public whipping. Removed his shirt. They were taken up, hands tied up, and at 3 o'clock, which was the appointed time, that's when the whippings took place, so everybody knew when they were going to happen. He received the 25 lashes, and afterwards he was sentenced to several days in jail, and then Reverend Gatch went down into the jail cell and ministered with him and tried to convince him to change his ways. We don't really know if it did or not, but Reverend Gatch made that attempt. Now, we had an interesting, and I'll give a brief description of Reverend Gatch from John McLean, who is a person from Warren County, practiced in Clermont County before Judge Gatch, and later became a Supreme Court Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, and was the person who wrote the dissenting opinion in the Dred Scott case, one of the most famous ones that we had. But he described Gatch, quote, as venerable, quote, a man of good practical knowledge of human affairs. Such was the confidence felt in his honesty that parties were ready to think themselves wrong when Father Gatch gave judgment against him. So that was how he described that. But I've been researching this history in Clermont County for 3 decades. I published 7 books, and I'm always and continue to be amazed by the history, the rich history that we have, and the contributions that the people from Clermont have made on the state, national, and actually international level. And we'll talk about one of the attorneys on the international level through this book. And this project is no different. I'm continuing to be amazed by the amount of history that we have here. And I'm really looking to the public for help if there's anything that they might have, old photographs or drawings. One of my key things is to find a description or an illustration of the courthouse when it was in New Richmond for that brief period of time. I've located where it was, and hopefully we'll find it. But to give you an idea of how one little story about how the public can help is that I got a description of the old courthouse, the one that's not there, a few years before it was demolished. And among it, they said that the second story was completely rotted out, and that's where all our old records were being stored. Now, I can say one thing. I knew where the records were stored in the current old courthouse. They were terribly stored. They weren't available. I can tell you right now the county is doing a far better job of protecting its records. And I want to give Michelle and her group a lot of praise because they're very responsive and got me a lot of information I needed. But from this one description, they said that you go into the front courtroom, and about 15 feet inside the courtroom were 2 pot-bellied stoves, which was providing the heat. This was in the mid-1920s. In the back were 2 signs, and the sign says, "Please do not spit on the stove."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in front of the stove were wooden boxes with sawdust in it. So we understand what was going on then, but just a little bit of insight. And I hope to be able to maybe to come back occasionally to update with a couple new stories about this project.
Okay. When do you suspect this book might be completed?
Sometime in the future.
Okay.
The plan is for next year, but as I continue to uncover things, this is the project right now. Okay. In the rough manuscript phase, so it's pushing 150 pages at this point.
Good.
So and with photographs, it's going to have photographs of people and the courthouses and things of that sort.
Good. Well, thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to have the opportunity.
As we said, if our county's history is not shared, it's lost. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First on our agenda is to pay our bills, Resolution 22-15, in the amount of $1,379,122.84. Do we have a motion to pay our bills, and adopt the resolution as contained in item 1.
So moved.
Second the motion?
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Jubal?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Morning,
Item 2.
Andy Kukta.
Morning, Andy.
Item 2 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 2315, resolving to authorize the execution of amended cooperation agreements by and between the Board of County Commissioners of Clermont County and the City of Milford and the villages of Bethel, Felicity, Moscow, New Richmond, Newtonsville, Owensville, and Williamsburg, previously ratified by the Board on 9/10/14, in and as it relates to Clermont County's application for urban county qualification for federal funding for the Community Development Block Grant Program for program years 2015, 2016, and 2017, as administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. These agreements include recent additions of language required by HUD, and they're all fairly minor changes. Kind of our last step to become official. We are official with HUD, but we need to get this paperwork in, and we're almost at the home stretch.
Okay. We have a motion to adopt resolution 23-15 as contained in item 2.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Jubal? Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Humphrey?
Aye. Item 3. Thanks, Andy. Mr. Bloom.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lyle Bloom, Director with the Water Resources Department, and item number 3 is a recommendation to accept the following grants of sewer easement with right of re-entry for repair and replacement that will be granted and conveyed to Clermont County for utility purposes of constructing, operating, maintaining, repairing, replacing, removing, or reinstalling sewer utility lines, pumping equipment, manholes, and all incidental fixtures required for the transportation of sewage in, on, under, and across the property of the grantors. This is relative to the Miamiville Sewer Extension Project located in Miami Township. Further, to authorize the county auditor to remit payment to the grantors in the amounts as outlined below and as indicated on the settlement sheets, which are attached thereto, is compensation for permanent easements and right-of-ways that will be granted and or repairs relative thereto, and to remit payment in the amount of $140 payable to J. Robert True, the county treasurer, for the recording fees. The first grantor, actually all 5 grantors, is Jada Real Estate Holdings, number 1 LLC, for property located along Ward's Corner Road. And, well, 1 property along Ward's Corner Road and 4 properties on Level Miamiville Road.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the grants of sewer easement and remit payments as contained in item 3?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Jubal?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 4.
Item 4 is a recommendation to award the bid for landfill disposal services for the Clermont County Water Resources Department and the City of Milford pursuant to the specifications to Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated out of Cincinnati, Ohio, for the sole bid received on February 5th, 2015, for a total estimated cost of $392,000, and execute the contract for landfill disposal services relative thereto, effective for a period of March 27th, 2015 through March 26th, 2016, with the option to renew for an additional 1-year period upon the same terms and conditions pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, and award of bid therefore. And their bid price is $28 per wet ton for the biosolids.
Do we have a motion to award the bid for landfill disposal services contained in item 4?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Jubal?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy.
Morning, Jeremy Evans, the County Engineer's Office. Item 5 is a recommendation to authorize Edmund H. Humphrey, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 1 to the contract with W.E. Smith Construction of Blanchester, Ohio, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on 6/4/14 for project number GO 1307 relative to the Hill Station Road Bridge Replacement Project located in Goshen Township. This represents an increase in the amount of $5,331.66 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $191,660.41 for additions, deletions, and/or modifications thereto as defined therein.
Okay. Do we have a motion to execute change order number 1 as contained in item 5?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Jubal?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 6.
Item 6 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 24-15, resolving to proceed to file a petition for appropriation of real property for parcel number 1825 18B 073 for real estate located in Miami Township and owned by Maddie Worsham, whose mailing address is 517 11 Miamiville Road, Lebanon, Ohio, as identified in Attachment 1, present road occupied, and Attachment 2, permanent highway easement of Exhibit 1, attached thereto and made part thereof in concert with project number MI 1310 relative to the 11 Miamiville Road Bridge Replacement Project located in Miami Township, resolving to authorize a declaration of intent to take possession as designated in Exhibit 2, attached thereto and made part thereof, to be filed, and to authorize the amount of $981 to be deposited with the Clermont County Common Pleas Clerk of Courts, which represents the county engineer's appraisal of the value of real property to be appropriated in images thereto, if any, and further to authorize the county auditor to issue the referenced payment subsequent thereto.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt resolution 24-15 as contained in item 6?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Yubel?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 7?
7 is a recommendation to approve the request to advertise for bids for project number JA0414 relative to the Caudill Road Bridge Replacement Project located in Jackson Township pursuant to the plans and specifications therefore, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on 3/19/15 with bids to be received until 2 p.m. local time on Thursday 4/2/15 in the office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, Ohio, where they would be publicly opened and read aloud shortly thereafter. This notice will also be posted on Clermont County's website, clermontcountyohio.gov.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the request to advertise for bids for the project as contained in item 7?
So moved.
Second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Yubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 8?
Thanks, Jeremy.
Item 8 is a recommendation of Linda Fraley, the county auditor, with my concurrence, to authorize Commissioner Humphrey to execute a software of services and SaaS agreement by and between the County of Clermont and Tyler Technologies of Moraine, Ohio, for hosting and support services for the IAS World software products, and as it relates to the county IAS property tax system, as more fully described in Exhibits A, B, and C, identified as the investment summary, invoicing and payment policy, and service level agreement, respectively attached thereto and made a part thereof at a cost not to exceed $267,320 for each year for a 3-year agreement not to exceed $801,960, effective 1/1/2015 through 12/31/2017, pursuant to and compliance with the terms and conditions specified therein, and contingent upon the receipt of a current certificate of liability insurance and the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation certificate, which is required. This, as a quick explanation, this is the same process we went through for the Munis process, where we're going to outsource it to a service bureau, as opposed to maintaining it in-house, with the same advantages as the Munis system, where we push most of the responsibility off to the outside vendor.
Do we have a motion to execute the software as a service agreement as contained in item 8?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Yubel?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 9?
Item 9 is my recommendation to authorize Commissioner Humphrey to execute joint applications with the prosecuting attorney to the Clermont County Court of Common Pleas for the employment of legal counsel for the following law firms as special counsel to represent the Board of County Commissioners in its official capacity, and to advise it on legal matters as outlined therein pursuant to and is in compliance with Section 305.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, with compensation therefore not to exceed the total amounts as outlined below for calendar year 2015, and or the remaining duration of specific litigation. Law firms of Frost Brown Todd out of Columbus, Ohio. This is for matters relative to environmental matters. That's for $15,000. Squire, Pratt and Broggs out of Cincinnati, for preparation of all documentation in support of underwriting bonds and financial obligations, not to exceed $40,000. Mastek, Redskin, Ryder, and Keller out of, I believe it's Cleveland, if I remember.
Yes, so, no, yes.
So Cleveland, legal counsel for matters relative to the KL et al. Versus Pierce Township ongoing court case at $92.50.
Okay. Do we have a motion to execute the joint application with the prosecuting attorney for the attorneys as contained in item 9?
So moved.
I will second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Yubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 10?
Item 10 is a recommendation to reappoint the following individuals to serve on the Clermont County Planning Commission for the terms outlined below. This is pursuant to Section 713.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Herschel Gorman, effective term 3/31/15 through 3/30/18, and Sharon Strickland, effective 3/31/15 through 3/30/18.
Okay. We have a motion to reappoint the individuals as contained in item 10.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Gubel?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 11.
11 is the recommendation of Marshall McCracken, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, with my concurrence to authorize Commissioner Humphrey to execute a satisfaction of mortgage, certifying that the terms of the mortgage and promissory note is secured as dated has been satisfied, and authorizing the recorder to release the said mortgage of record for the following property as it relates to the Ohio Department of Development Neighborhood Stabilization Program. And it's Gerald and Patricia Reinhardt of Amelia, Ohio.
Okay. Do we have a motion to execute the satisfaction of mortgage as contained in item 11?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Gubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Item 12. Suki.
Morning, I'm Suki Sheets with the Office of Management and Budget, and item 12 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 2515, resolving to authorize the county administrator or the assistant county administrator or the department head of the Clermont County Office of Management and Budget to settle and process payment of third-party property damage claims in amounts not exceeding $1,000 arising from the operation of county-owned motor vehicle on behalf of the Clermont County Commissioners. This is an authorization we haven't had in place previously. What will happen every once in a while, we'll have small fender benders where we impact a citizen's vehicle or maybe their property, and this is authorizing us to go ahead and pay usually their deductible. If it's a case of a mailbox or something, or a fence, it'll probably just be the repairs.
It's 1,000 more than half the time. Is that the dollar amount, or what's?
1,000 is, a lot of ours have been under 1,000, and 1,000 is a typical retention deductible on vehicles.
Okay.
So we usually have paid less than that when we've taken care of these things. The citizens are still out occasionally because, like right now, we have them out getting quotes, multiple quotes, to make sure that the repairs exceed the deductible amounts before we'll pay the deductible. But we try to do what we can to keep it as painless for them as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 25-15 as contained in item 12?
I'll make the motion for item 12.
Second.
Mr. Gubel?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
I'm going to do the next two because they're very similar. They're just for water and sewer.
Okay.
Item 13 is a request to adopt Resolution 2615, resolving to authorize the county administrator, assistant county administrator, or the department head of the Clermont County Water Resources to settle and process payment of third-party damage claims on behalf of the county in amounts not exceeding $1,000, and these would be arising from county water main breaks.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 26-15 as contained in item 13?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Gubel?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. 14.
And item 14 is a request to adopt Resolution 27-15, resolving to authorize the same people to process third-party property damage claims in an amount not exceeding $10,000. This is to address public safety and public health issues that arise from failure of county sewer systems. This one's a little bit larger dollar volume because it's usually for sewer backups, and it entails not only paying of deductible, we actually pay for cleanup. So when sewers back up in people's basements, because of it being a public health issue.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 27-15 as contained in item 14?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gubel?
Yes.
Mr. Proud?
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Financial and budgetary actions.
Thanks, Suki.
Thanks, Suki.
First up, we have supplemental appropriations. First, we have Building Inspection Department, $2,000. This is for a plat copier repair. And we have Adult Detention Corrections, $26,450. This is to add an additional CO in order to reduce overtime at the jail. And we have Adult Detention Corrections, a reduction of $47,040. That is the reduction of the overtime dollar amounts that we're anticipating. And we have Adult Detention Corrections, $13,640. This is the addition for the fringe benefits for the additional CO. In the Treasurer's Delinquent Tax and Assessments, we have $17,500. This is an appropriation increase to replace the computer systems. And we have the Juvenile Accountability Block Grant, $36,000. This is a new grant to be appropriated. And we have Family Dependency Treatment for $86,680. This is also for a new grant, a new sub-grant for the Juvenile Family Dependency Treatment Court. Park District, we have $12,780. This is a salary increase. I believe it's for part-time people to remove honeysuckle.
I didn't hear about the honeysuckle, but I
Okay.
know he was working on.
Makes sense. They're evasive.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
And the next one is Park District for $1,980. That's an increase of fringes to cover the same honeysuckle removal project.
New Richmond used goats.
There you go.
Zach's goats.
That's right.
Made the paper, yeah.
Then we have Park District, $23,240. This is for equipment purchases and improvements at the Patterson gazebo, and that is being paid for by a donation. Health Insurance Fund, $100,000. It's appropriate the funds to repay advance. This is part of the $300,000 advance that the Health Fund is now able to start repaying back to the
This would be the
general
final
fund.
payment.
Final
This would
payment.
be allowing them, they've already repaid the 200 of that.
Okay. And we have telecommunication services for $40,000. This is for new contract services for the TTD.
Okay.
And got reimbursement of funds.
Yep.
Public Assistance Fund and Children's Services Fund for $18,681.44. This is a TANF placement expenses for January. And Public Assistance, Children's Services, $705.36 for medical transport for January. And finally, I believe we have the cash advance health insurance fund to general fund, the $100,000 repayment.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the financial and budgetary actions as contained in whatever item that is?
15.
Okay,
So moved.
15.
I will second the motion.
Mr. Proud.
Yay.
Mr. Ubel.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye. Do we have any add-ons?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, then I see we have a need for executive session. Executive session pursuant to 12122G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to confer with the prosecuting attorney concerning pending or imminent litigation. Do we have a motion to go into executive session under that section of the code?
I will make the motion for executive session.
I'll second that.
Mr. Ubel.
Yes.
Mr. Proud.
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye. We'll be in executive session for a while, and possibly the minutes can get prepared so we can look at those when we get back. We'll be back shortly. We're back from executive session. No decisions were made. We have had a chance to look over the minutes. They were prepared for us. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as prepared?
So moved.
I will second the motion of the minutes.
Mr. Proud.
Yay.
Mr. Ubel.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second that.
Mr. Ubel.
Yes.
Mr. Proud.
Yay.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye. That concludes our business for today. Thanks for joining us, and God bless.